Hi, my name is Akshansh from Class 6 Alpha, La Martiniere for Boys, Kolkata in ICSE. And today I'm going to be talking about geography as unit tests are coming up and there's a geography test and I'm really nervous. So I want this message to help all my friends out there. So unit tests are coming up on Monday and it's geography. It's geography on Monday. So I thought that it would be better if I explain to all the viewers out there what's the topic about. It comes with maps and all the features of the earth revolving around it. So first let's understand what the earth is in brief. So basically, the Earth is the only planet confirmed to host life. Now that being like trees, hills, cities, settlements, etc. And it has a lot of unique features in it. But we need to study the features to learn more about the Earth. But we can't do that. We're inside of it and the Earth is so large that we can't learn about the unique features at the same time. So, there's a three-dimensional model of the Earth called the globe, which is basically a map printed onto a sphere, and that shows the relevant shapes, the locations, and how it looks, the continents, the oceans, seas, countries, settlements, cities, etc. So, it basically is a miniature world, a miniature physical world which is just embedded into one sphere. So basically that's what the globe is. But then what's a map? A map is basically a representation of the Earth's surface, like Asia, Africa, North, South America, and all these continents, along with the countries and the oceans. So it is a representation of the Earth or just a portion of the Earth drawn to scale on a flat surface, meaning it's very accurate as well. So the first bound collection of the maps were actually drawn by a geographer, a Roman geographer in 150 CE called Claudius Ptolemy. The spelling is Claudius, Claudius Ptolemy, with a silent P. Ptolemy, Ptolemy. Claudius Ptolemy in 150 CE drew the first bound collection of maps. Now, this actually helped the lands and the sea routes. It was depicted through these maps, which actually helped in the science of making maps. Now, this science is called cartography. That's where you make maps and, well, you see around the world and make the map. So, it also comes with map language that involves a lot of symbols, retranslation of different symbols also, shading, coloring, and drawing conclusions from everything you've learned from the map. For drawing and shading into actual mountains, plains, rivers, plateaus, etc. Now, so that's what map language is. But learning the map language is called map reading. Now, this actually really helps you understand the map, and that actually helps in modern communication. So, what is modern communication in the sense of maps? Now, let's say you're walking in Africa and you're walking around the banks of Nile. You come across an African and you need help. Now, you can't understand where the Pyramid of Giza is, for example, you're new to it. So, you can actually show the map to that person and he can tell you where it is because the map shows that. And also because of the ratio, but I'll get to that later. So, where was I? Yes, in modern communication. It is also used by citizens worldwide through this method, not only by geographers, citizens. It is also used by many people of all walks of life. Let's say tourists, motorists, reference personnel, explorers, traders, guides. guides, let's say tourists. It's also used by students to gain knowledge of the world, like I said. But there are some disadvantages of the map. But first, let me tell you something that is very important. So there are other substitutes of the map, namely satellite images and also aerial photographs. Now these pictures show a visualization of the Earth, which may help you in certain ways to understand more about it. But since it is not drawn as per scale, it is not as accurate as the map. Also, it cannot replace the map also, because it's very accurate. Now, but they are three-dimensional. They show three-dimensional pictures and the map can't. So that's why, due to projections, it becomes narrow near the poles. Like, you can't really see the poles actually. You can't even see the pole actually, the North Pole. And that actually shows a distorted picture of the world sometimes. So the first thing on the list is a sketch. So it's basically, it's like a DIY drawing you can do at home. It's very rough and it only gives an idea to the person understanding it. It's a drawing basically of some sort of neighborhood with directions to reach your destination also. And it's not drawn to scale because you're drawing it and you don't have a lot of experience as a geographer, I guess. So now let's say, what's a plan? A plan shows a very small neighborhood, but in very good details, and like they're also almost measurement accurate. Like they're almost identical to the ratio measurement. Like let's say 1:16 centimeters, let's say that, I don't know. So it shows settlements, buildings, skyscrapers, your home, trees, churches, etc. But they're all very accurate. Also, one can call it a blueprint. A blueprint in the sense like architects can use these blueprints to form out the foundation and stuff like that. Moving on, let's talk about the map. It's actually derived from the word mappa. It's in Latin. It's from classical Latin. And that means tablecloth or napkin. This also indicates that the earlier maps were drawn, like how were they formed? They were drawn on the fabrics of napkins and tablecloths, and sometimes tree leaves also, on an unrelated note. So also that it is also very convenient to carry, because since it's a thin strip of paper, it's thin paper, so it can be easily be folded into like a square, and you can just be carried in your pocket, or rather a backpack or something like that. So it's very convenient to carry, also in a book form. Now let's move on to large scale maps and small scale maps. Now you might be thinking, oh, a large scale map is a map that's really drawn on large scale, and a small scale map is drawn on a small scale. No, it's almost the opposite actually. Large scale maps show a small neighborhood, but in great details, just like the plan. So it shows both the natural and man-made features. Really doesn't really matter, like hills, plateaus, trees, settlements, canals, dams, etc. So that's a large scale map, and that's actually a cadastral map. So what's the other type of map? A topographical map. This is actually done, it's one of the most accurate maps, I might say, because it's done after a very careful and accurate survey of the neighborhood or any location. So it shows, of course, always both natural and man-made features, as well as cultural features. Cultural features in the sense like religious beliefs, the population of that, but I'm not sure. But in man-made and natural, such as hills, plateaus, all the things like in cadastral maps, is very similar, but also it is very useful. It's used in military. It's for military purposes. It's also made by the Survey of India, and there are billions of them. And also that they have a ratio of a scale to 1 is to 25,000 or 1 is to 50,000. Now you might be asking, what's a scale? Already get to that. Now basically a scale is one of the three important components of a map. One being title, the other one being cardinal points or directions, and the last one being what I just said, scale. Let's get to scale first. A scale, now let's say you laid down a map and you might be thinking, this is not the right size of it, so that's where you need ratio. A ratio actually compares one number. So let me say 2 centimeters on the map, the length of the map is 2 centimeters. That is actually a corresponding distance of 500 kilometers on the ground. So in real life it's 500 kilometers, but in the map it's acting as 2 centimeters. So that's a scale. That's definition. That's the definition. And large scale maps very much use that. Really much. So now let's go to cardinal points. Now directions. Basically cardinal points are north, south, east and west. One can find his or her destination by using these cardinal points. It's actually the perspective that you look, but through a map it's much more accurate. So where you're looking. So if you're looking this way, where I'm looking, here is the east, and here's the west, and here's the north, and to the back of me is south. But if I turn that way, to me here is the right or east, there's the west, this is the north, and that's the south. So there are many perspectives to it, and it's around one point that you're on. So wherever you're turning, you will see those directions. They keep shifting. So what have I done? Yeah, title. A title is basically like what the map is about. Like what I'm explaining now. What's the chapter today? It's maps or globes or whatever comes with it. So basically it's just the name of the map you're reading on. So let's say it's a political map, so it's just going to say Indian political map or something like that. Now there are different types of scales. The 3 types, like 3 components, 3 types. So let's say these 3 types are verbal scale, there's linear scale, and there's representative fraction really. So what is a verbal scale or a statement scale? Well, the name really, it just defines itself. It says the ratio between the map and the map distance and the ground distance, but in words. So it just says this is the literal thing. 1 centimeter on the map represents 500 kilometers on the ground. That's literally what it says. It's not very popular because it's not very accurate and many people don't really use it. Now what's an RF or representative fraction? Now this is only in numbers and it's in different variations. It's also universally accepted, also for linear scale. So let's say it is actually 1 centimeter colon 500 kilometers. Meaning 1 centimeter is the map distance and 500 kilometers is the ground distance. The colon, actually, it represents the ratio between them. Now, it can also be written in fractions, such as 1 centimeter or just 1 by 50,000 or 500. So you're saying 1 centimeter by 500 kilometers. Also, it is universally accepted. Like I say, I would like to emphasize on that. Let's go on a linear scale. It is the most accurate way of, finding the ratio. It actually shows relations between map distance and ground distance. Not the ratio, relation. So it's drawn in such a way that the distance is calculated most accurately. In the sense that there's a bar and it's divided into 3 parts, or rather 4. So there's a line in between every one. horizontal bar. So on the left hand side of the bar is 1000 meters, and then on the line it says 0 kilometers, and 0 to the first kilometer is that bar. First kilometer to the second kilometer is another bar, and the second to the third is the third kilometer. Right now it doesn't really seem sense, but as far as I've heard, it's the most accurate way. So I definitely recommend using this. Now, what should we talk about really? Let's say the conventional signs and symbols. Now, what are conventional signs and symbols? They're basically the features and the symbols. Like how I said, retranslation of symbols and reading between the lines. Those symbols actually represent the unique features of the earth in a very simple form. They only use one color or some colors in different variations. So those are conventional signs and symbols. Now let me talk about them. Now what are the different types of them? There's yellow, blue, green, black, red, brown, and white. Also black, if I said that. So what is yellow? It means a cultivable land, and also deserts are yellow, so yellow is deserts. And also, it's also for plains as well. It's cultivable land, and that's all we can say. Now let's say, what are white? What does white color mean? That means a badland area, like you hear in Minecraft. A badland area where they see all these rocks and it's just a barren rockland and it's uncultivable land. No plants grow there. Maybe just trees with dead leaves, maybe? I'm not sure. So it's like that, but let's say black. That means a dry stream and a surveyed tree. And those have an abundance. So in today's world, there are a lot of trees decaying and a lot of rivers getting poisoned, so that's why I guess black is a thing now. Let's say cities, capitals, and houses, settlements. So that's red. Now what's brown? It means contour lines and mountains. So in my sense, contour lines meaning international boundaries, but I don't think that's correct. So that's all. Let's leave it to contour lines. Now what's blue? What do you think in Earth is blue? Any answers? No? Of course, water bodies. But they're not only water bodies, they're perennial water bodies. Now perennial water bodies like lakes, ponds, rivers, oceans, all the other things you can see in the world. What else? Green. Now what's green? It just means forests or lowland areas, as in it's just a ground, it's just a plain, it's just like a plateau. So that's everything about forests and everything. So let me check my list. So there's yellow, we've seen that. We've said green, we said black, red, blue, and brown. What else can we say? Nothing. And white. We've said all of that. So that's the only thing. Now, well, I could make you understand what all the symbols can mean and what the colors they are. So international boundaries, the international boundaries and the state boundaries are black. The undermarketed roads and demarketed roads, they are, I think, red or black. And capitals are red. Capitals are red. It's a red ring with a dot in the middle, which is black. And just normal settlements are 3 squares, which are red. And they show kind of like a creeper face in Minecraft, but let's not get into that. It's red. That's all we can say. What else? A backtrack or a park track. I really don't know how to say. It's just like a normal steep rocky hill, which is sometimes it's in these like black lines, and then there's a space and there's another black line. So it shows all these tracks. I believe that's a park track. And there's another one which is just a normal one. Now what's a tank? It's dry. A tank is basically an island with rocks like somewhere near it, and just water there. And it's in an oval like oval, not satisfying like shape. So that's all I've got for today. Thank you.